Will Deadlock be a major esports? That's a good question. I think so. I guess, yeah, I guess that's a good question. We could talk about it. What makes a great esport? There's a few things I can think of. Okay. Does this game have those things? Let's talk about it. What are some of the biggest traits of a successful esport? I think the first thing is probably high skill expression, which this game has. I think compared to other MOBAs, the skill ceiling in this game is a lot higher. You know, playing a third-person shooter requires a lot more mechanical talent and skill. Like, you have to aim a lot more. The movement in this game is pretty complex and pretty difficult to pull off good movement, at least as the game is balanced currently. So hopefully that doesn't change. I think if you're a plat player right now and you tune into like a professional player's stream, like an Eternus player's stream, or if you turn on you know, pro match, I think you'd be blown away by what people are pulling off. That's a huge part of the spectator element of a successful esport, is being impressed by the skill expression. Another thing would be the deep strategy in the game, which I think this game has. It is a MOBA, much like my last point. In MOBAs, the game is pretty complex. There's a lot of strategy involved in the items that you buy and the heroes that you pick. With only one map, assuming this game is only going to have one map, strategy is extremely important. Okay, this is the case in tac shooters. Everybody's really familiar with the maps. The games take really long, and the maps are relatively simple. So the thing that really sets you apart from a competitive perspective to the teams that you're playing against is your understanding of the map and your decisions around the map. The strategy in this game is super involved, and I don't expect that will change. You could argue against the balance of the game maybe, but I think generally speaking the balance of the game is good and complex and effective. And then I guess like the last big thing that you're looking for out of a major esport would be like a fun world. And what I mean by that is, like, for the normies that watch the game who don't really care about the value of a 3200 soul item and whether or not it's worth buying, the people that just want to tune in and have a good time and maybe only have like a peripheral understanding of the game, they play for fun on the weekends, they are more interested in like fun characters with attitude and with personality. I think we're already seeing that take place in this game. Some people just want to watch a little raccoon character sit on his pillow, you know, and if you want that, you got that. You understand? I think the world building in this game is interesting. I think it's compelling. I think it's got a fun style, the art style. It's kind of hard to say what the final product of this game is going to look like, and to that end, because a lot of the models in the game right now are still holdovers and temporary art, and so, you know, who knows. But I think every major successful game nowadays has a really fun world, you know, with emotes and skins and stuff that really engages a casual audience. So these are things that I'm seeing happening in this game already, and in order for it to be a major esport, they need to keep adding on to. Even though I think this game's going to be a major esport, there are reasonable concerns in the community. You know, you can never guarantee that a game is going to be a big esport. Maybe it's a big casual game, but maybe not a big esport. You know, is this game going to pull hundreds of thousands of viewers the way Dota does or the way Counter-Strike does? That's a good question. That remains to be seen, but I think there are some counter arguments to some of the biggest concerns that I've seen over the last 2 years, and we can go over those really quickly. One of the biggest concerns I've seen, and this was immediately a concern when this game came out publicly 2 years ago, is that the game is too complex. Shroud said this, Ten said this, a lot of major gaming personalities were talking about how this game is maybe too complex. I want to point out that to that end, this was at a point in time when the game had 4 lanes, and maybe 4 lanes with, you know, some solo lanes, some dual lanes, was technically more complex than the average MOBA. That's obviously not the case anymore. We're at 3 lanes. Maybe they go back to 4 lanes, whatever, it doesn't matter. The game is complex, okay? It is a MOBA. It is not friendly to a new viewer who's never seen the game. Much like League, much like Dota, if you are somebody that's never watched this game and you tune in into the middle of a match, like right now where we're at watching right now in this replay, you probably have no clue what's going on. You couldn't even identify like who's on whose team. You don't know what a camp is. It's extremely difficult to understand if you're like a casual viewer what's going on the screen. The thing that I always come back to, that I've explained on stream before, in regards to the complexity of a game like this is that the casters actually have a huge role in making the game digestible, and I think maybe the lion's share of responsibility in terms of making the game digestible and easy to understand for a casual viewer that's turning into an esports tournament goes to the casters that are involved with the tournament. Okay, a lot of people don't realize this. Casters have a hard job because they need to make the game easy to understand when it's not easy to understand visually. There's only so much that the devs can do to make the game digestible. Okay, they can work on like the colors, they can work on reducing some of the AoE effects and some of the visual clutter. They can make a good mini map, which I think this game has, but the casters ultimately are the people that have to explain to the casual audience what's going on the screen if they're tuning in. A lot of the casters that have been in this community playing this game for the last 2 years have a major advantage on day one of the game's release because they understand the game, because there's been 100 million matches played. It's been you know, a game that people are familiar with already in the community. So I think to some degree the dev process taking so long is actually going to work out in Deadlock's favor in terms of casters being able to make the game digestible to a new audience. Another major concern would be, how is Valve going to work with the tournament operators in this game, because they've taken different approaches for different games. You have the old school Counter-Strike approach where Valve pretty much has been completely hands-off forever, and CS became what I believe to be like the biggest esport of all time. Although I think CS became the biggest esport of all time based on the merit of the game. I think that game is just the best. Then you look at like the way Valve handles Dota. Valve's a lot more hands-on with Dota. They've always been, you know, they run the international, like the international is a major tournament. It's happening this week. I definitely wonder how Valve will handle Deadlock, how involved will they be. I think modern games now, you really can't have a hands-off approach as a developer. I think if you want the game to be a major successful esport, you need a lot of integration, fan integration, casual integration. You need tournaments that are in the game clients. You need skins like team skins and bundles. Every major game does this now. You need integration, and so that involves the devs being really hands-on. Okay, will Valve do that? That remains to be seen. I can't tell you that in this video, but if they want this game to be a successful esport, they definitely need to be involved with it at a granular level, the competitive scene. And that kind of leads me into my like the third major concern about this game is it going to appeal to a more casual player base? Is Valve going to pivot this game to be more favorable for a casual player base? Again, that's a question I can't really answer, but this is like a philosophical question that Valve has to answer themselves. You know, do they want the game to be more quick and casual and cater more to the battle pass buyers, or do they want it to be a competitively balanced game and put a lot of time and focus and money and investment into the pro scene and into the competitive, you know, elements of this game? The truth is, in multiplayer games, the cash cow really is the casual player and the casual audience. At the end of the day, I think this game has all the things that you want to see out of a major esport or a potential major esport. I do have a lot of faith in Valve, although they have failed in the past with some game releases. I think in general, like, they've had some of the biggest success in terms of making gigantic, very popular competitive games. So I have no reason to be concerned. But it's a fair question. Is Deadlock going to be a major esport? The truth is, it's hard to tell. I mean, you know, the devs are pretty tight-lipped to this point about what they want out of the future of the game. The dev process has taken a very long time. We just kind of have to wait and see when they announce the game. How do they monetize the game? Assuming it's going to be free to play, is it going to be more catered toward a casual audience? Is Valve going to be involved with the esports? If they are, you know, are they going to, you know, have major systems? Are they going to do integration with the teams that are successful? You know, are they going to put effort into the competitive scene? That's really what it comes down to. I'm a Deadlock believer. This game's going to be a big esport.